Welcome back to Piano Lessons with Pizzazz. I'm Heidi Goldman, and today I have a special guest. This particular guest is very special to me for so many reasons. She is my mentor, she is my best friend, and she is my inspiration. And not only that, she is the reason why I studied piano to begin with. And so without further ado, I wish to introduce
Heidi. Heidi, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so thrilled to be here at your studio and to be part of your lesson and to meet and greet some of your very special friends that you have now made. And I'm now part of the team. I'm in the loop.
She is in the loop.
I'm out there.
For those of you who have watched Seinfeld, that's a funny episode. So this is my mother, Helen Goldman.
Hello.
And she began learning the piano, I believe, when I was about 4 or 5 years old. Is that about right?
I would say you're absolutely right.
And she is the reason why I then continued studying piano on and off. And mostly on. Actually, there was never any off time.
Absolutely. You stayed at the piano, whether you played it or not. That was the time to be here. And the way that I had raised my family was that when you make a promise to do something, you fulfill the promise. It's never ending. It's part of your life and who you are.
It's actually a commitment, and it's more than just piano lessons. When you think about it as a commitment, and your child at some point says, "Mom, I want to quit the piano."
What? I don't think so. The one that will tell you whether you're going to quit the piano is your mother, and that's why I'm your mother, because at this point, I know more than you do. And you're going to find out, what we all find out is that we're sorry when we quit, because music is forever.
And what happens when your child, who is so involved with soccer and basketball and football, has an accident, right?
Without the accident, lessons at the piano are forever. Lessons learning how to play sports are for a temporary period of time. Most people, when they reach adulthood, they then are in a profession and they're busy working, and that is something they no longer do because they have children now themselves and they're busy taking their children to practice. But when they do have a free moment and you have the choice of making those free moments, you can sit down at the piano in delight, in joy, in sadness, whatever the mood, and express yourself, your inner child.
So I can tell you from experience, and having taught for 40 years, students have ups and downs, peaks and valleys, just like all of us.
So do adults, yes.
Exactly. However, when I go to a party and people find out that I teach the piano, no one has ever said to me, "I am so glad my mother let me quit the piano." Not one person ever.
How about leaving that part out and saying, "I'm so happy that I played soccer. I'm so happy that I played tennis." That's something that's a sport and you can do, but can you take it with you? No. The piano remains in your heart.
This is true. Now, my mother is 100 years old. Are you playing tennis?
No.
Are you playing soccer?
No.
Do you still play the piano?
Yes.
And so, therefore, I will say to the parents, when this issue comes up, and it will occasionally, you know, piano is forever. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And at some point, even though the sports are important, and I'm not saying you should have one without the other, but piano is as important as academics. And sometimes it's even more. Because especially now, since COVID, and with all the problems of the world, it is that one special feature that you can have in your life to bring so much joy into your life.
Do you keep a football in your den or living room? Do you keep a soccer ball in your den or living room? Do you keep a tennis racket in any of those places? No, but you do have an instrument in those places, whether it be the piano, the violin, the drum. These are things that you show off, accomplishments that are visible and you can do and sit down at any time, amuse yourself, your friends, and of course, someday your family. And I don't mean your mother and your father, but I mean children of your own, and you take over from there. It's a forever gift, forever giving, and more importantly, forgiving. So making a mistake or hitting the wrong note tells you, whoops, got to practice a little more, and you do that with joy, not with annoyance and say, oh, darn it, I made a mistake. Of course you made a mistake. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect.
Well, I can tell you, speaking about mistakes, you are only one half a step away from playing the right note. So that's pretty easy. So, Mom, I wish to thank you so much for my piano lessons over all of these years and never letting me quit. So,
do you quit school?
No.
Do you quit college?
No.
Do you quit your profession? Because I don't exactly feel like going in today.
Never.
I don't think I want to. That's not the way it works in the real world. In the real world, as I said, you make a promise, you make a commitment, and you keep it. And more importantly, you please your parents, because for once in your life, you really pay attention. And that attention will keep you busy, happy, and joyful for the rest of your life by not saying, I don't want to play today. I'm not in the mood. You don't have to be in the mood to play piano. You don't have to be in the mood to eat. You just do it.
Along those lines, sometimes my students will say, well, I just wasn't in the mood to do it. And then I'll say, do you think Mommy or Daddy are in the mood to cook? Well, they're not. And so what would happen if they just said, I don't feel like cooking? You would starve. Or what if they just didn't feel like going to work? You wouldn't have a roof over your head. And these are kind of the discussions that will happen throughout the course of your child studying the piano. And you can take it from my mother, who is objective. I wasn't always the easiest, but quitting was not an option.
Well,
and I'm so glad.
Excuse me. I had too much invested in you, both financially and time-wise. Why would I let you forget all the time that you were at the piano learning and studying and playing? That time was too precious to me to just say, I don't want to anymore. When you are grown up, you'll make your own decisions. One time Heidi wanted to paint her room black.
It's true.
And while it's a very nice story, I said, in your house, when you own your own place, you'll make your decision. When you're here, you'll listen to me. This is our home, not your home, our home. We all live in it. We make the decision. In your home, yes. And so the piano is in the den, the piano is in the living room, and the music fills the house.
So, as an aside, my father studied the drums for fun with Buddy Rich. And one day for Valentine's Day, I thought, I really want to buy him something super special. And so I surprised him with a drum set. And for the first time, my father was speechless, because as you can tell from my mother and from me, we can talk for hours. Ad lib, it's just the way we are. And it was the most fun I think I've had in a really long time. And so every night between 10 and midnight, he and I would play anything. And when my students would come to the house for lessons, which occasionally they did, they learned the reason why it's so important to use the metronome. I compare it to a technological way of pretending you're in a band, right? So the metronome is like a drummer, even though a drummer is a lot more fun. And so oftentimes I have my students come to the house and my father would play the drums. Well, if they make a mistake, typically during a lesson they'll just stop, like doe in the headlight. But my father never stopped, and then they just learned to just keep going. You have to get past the mistake and keep going. If you're performing, you don't just stop. So that was really cool to be able to show my students what it's like to play with another musician. And I'm also very grateful that you took me to so many concerts. That really makes such an impression and a big difference, because then you find out it's not just piano lessons and practicing one song. It's seeing how others play and how a group of musicians, let's say in a symphony or jazz band, perform together, and the look that they give each other. Sometimes it's a naughty look, like, I'm going to change keys and try and throw you off. These are all the things that make music just come alive. And so I am hoping my guest speaker, my mother and my best friend, and I have shed some light on some topics that will come up throughout the course of your kids taking piano lessons. If they ever decide to quit, what I tell my students, and I tell the parents because of what I learned from my mother, is that's fine, honey. I'm not going to disagree. You'll quit when you graduate high school.
What you forgot to mention, or maybe you didn't think of it, is that some of your students who were the most aggressive at the piano and really did not want to practice, did not want to play, did not want anything to do with music, then went to university and became a music major, and they became teachers too.
And I don't know if you remember, but some of my students who then grew up ended up using the same teaching tools that my publishing company, Pure Gold Teaching Tools, created about 20 years ago. These are one-of-a-kind, unique teaching tools for children that are so much fun and so special. And it was just so heartwarming to see that they're actually using the methods that I used with them now with their children.
And how about their children?
Oh,
who was the music teacher for their children?
So, well, I'm obviously aging myself if my mother's 100. But now I'm teaching second generation of kids. I mean, can you imagine what that's like? So it's just been so amazing, this journey that I've been on, thanks to my mother for not letting me quit. And,
think of all the musicians that all of us listen to and buy the records of them and go to their concerts. Where would we all be without music? Think about that. The world would be a very quiet place.
Well, not only that, but if you watch a TV show or a movie, especially at home, let's say Netflix, shut off the volume. Let's say it's a scary movie. If there's no music, it just looks silly. But as soon as they add music, it suddenly becomes very suspenseful, like a Friday the 13th movie, or let's say something romantic. Without the music, it's nothing.
Well, you have to realize that the music is the background to everything. Just as in life, your toy is important to you. Your earring is important to you. Your baseball is important to you. These are accessories, and music is an accessory. It fills everything out. And where would music be without a piano? No place. A piano is a necessity, and I can only wish you the joy and the happiness that I have felt for so many years listening to the sound of music as it floats through my house. And with that, I have to say I'm sorry I have to go, but if I don't, there's no dinner tonight. And so while I'm preparing, I'll listen to you play.
Time for me to practice. It's been fun. And what I would love for you to do is give us a couple of thumbs up if you would like my mom to come back as another guest speaker, or if you have questions as a parent to another parent, please feel free to comment in the comment area below, or write to me at Heidi, Heidi, at Piano Lessons with Pizzazz. And until then, keep on practicing. Bye-bye.
Bye.